Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Nail the Game podcast by Note Beauty. I'm happy to have Bailey Joe today with us, who's a licensed nail tech from Utah. She is very amazing with her very unique nail art, and also she offers her own apprenticeship program, which we will discuss today as well. Hi, Bailey, and thanks a lot again.
Thanks for having me.
Basically, as with all of our other guests, I would love to start kind of how you decided to kind of begin your journey in the nail world and become a nail tech.
Yes, so I don't think I ever thought of myself as being in the beauty industry. I actually went to college and I was actually planning on going into figure painting and drawing. And so that's what I did. I studied art in college and I loved it. And color theory and all of those things definitely correlate to nails. But I saw a girl that was offering a nail apprenticeship because I didn't really know what to do after college. And I was like, well, I might as well try that. I might like that. So I did, and I fell in love with it. I loved being able to be one-on-one with clients and being able to be creative. And kind of a no pressure situation too. I feel like nails, it's like worst case scenario, if you mess up, you could just redo the nail. It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But I really enjoyed it. I loved being creative and I love being able to be with people one-on-one. So that's kind of how I got into nails, is I did an apprenticeship, and that's another actually reason why I do apprenticeships, is my apprenticeship was so amazing and I felt like I learned so much from her that I wanted to do that for other girls too, because I did see there was a lot of lag in the education part of nails. I feel like, especially here in Utah, that we've kind of grown quite a bit in terms of what we do here in terms of nails. And so I feel like there was a lot of gap there in the education that I wanted to try to fill. So.
Right. First of all, it's very amazing that kind of you decided to do something else and then shifted into the nail industry. And your type of stories are really very inspiring for people who also want to do nails, but they kind of are not very sure about whether they should kind of ditch the traditional college journey and do only nails. So thanks for sharing that. And now I know from where your kind of skills of drawing and painting this stuff on nails comes from. So it's really great. But as you mentioned that you didn't have many kind of challenges when you were starting out, your apprenticeship was great, but still I imagine that you may have some hardships when you're starting out. I was wondering what would be the ones that you remember and would want to share?
Yes, I think even deciding to do nails was scary. It definitely was an on a whim decision for me. And my apprenticeship really was so wonderful. I think where I started to hit kind of some walls was more continued education, making sure that I was up to date on everything and making sure that I was using products that were correct for my clients. And I feel like once you kind of graduate school or an apprenticeship, there is still that learning period where a lot of people think, oh, I can get nail school done with super quick and I'm going to be awesome and I'm going to be booked right off the bat and I'm going to be making an amount of money. Like, I don't think anything in this life is like that. Anything that's get rich quick or things like that are never real. It does take a lot of hard work, but I kind of run into salons where maybe girls weren't very professional or kind, or you don't have the best setup. I mean, with nails, luckily you can kind of have a small space and you can still do quite well. But that's kind of where I ran into the issues, was with different salons that I didn't feel like were really providing me what I needed to provide my clients. And then there's also some salons that I've worked at that I absolutely love and I still love. And honestly, I would go back in a heartbeat if I ever needed to. But those are kind of some roadblocks. And then also taking that jump from, okay, I just finished school, I just finished my apprenticeship, and now I have to pay booth rent or find somewhere to work, and that can also be stressful. I took the leap and did booth rent right away, and I'm so glad that I did, because it kind of kicked my butt and made me work really hard because I knew that I'm like, okay, I have to pay for this. And my booth rent when I first started was not very expensive, so it wasn't too bad. But that was great for me to push to get that. But yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that I ran into. And then also the business side of things. Nobody taught me about taxes. Nobody taught me about what business licenses I needed. No one taught me any of that stuff. And so I think that's also kind of a lag in the education system where they're trying to get out girls so quick and try to make $1 off of them that we're missing like the other half of the equation. We're getting like halfway there, but there's still so much to learn in terms of like chemicals and, you know, all the things that go into nails and nail products. And then on top of that, all of the legal business side of things. So that's probably where my stress was. A lot of it was taxes and business stuff and putting aside what I needed to for taxes, how much I should be spending on product, things like that. But I've definitely learned along the way in trial and error. And now I have an accountant who's wonderful and she helps me with all of those things. And that's probably the best thing that I did actually for my business was hire an accountant. So, but yeah, those are probably the two bigger things that I ran into.
Yeah, totally valid. And taxes are very stressful and you can never figure it out like completely. So it's amazing to have someone on your team that does. And the entrepreneurship side of things, in any type of business or in any profession in general, it's very important that education covers that as well. So thanks a lot for mentioning that. And I'm sure that in your apprenticeship, you're kind of also tackling these issues for your students, which is amazing. And another hardship that I imagine for a nail tech who just started out is kind of where do you find the clients? How do your clients who think like yourself find you? And I was wondering, what was your strategy, especially when you started out by renting your own booth? Like what was how did you build your clientele?
Right. I think everyone hates this answer, but word of mouth is huge in the beauty industry. That was probably the main thing, is getting like friends and family in and having them post on their Instagram stories, having them, you know what I mean? And I think when you do a good job and you are meticulous and you care a lot about the final product, like we're not just in here hustling and trying to get people out the door. We're, you know, not taking tons and tons of time, but taking your time, making sure the quality is wonderful. It kind of markets itself, really. I mean, your girls will market for you whether you ask them to or not. I can't tell you how many of my girls actually know each other. And so it's funny because I have like groups of friends and family members and coworkers who all come to me, and it's like this fun little connection that we all make with each other. So getting family members, friends in the door first thing. And then another thing of that is, I think sometimes you're just like open to whoever will book, which is great. And sometimes, yes, you can get people in the door. However, if you're only doing solid colors, you're only going to be booking solid colors. Those are the only types of girls that are going to be coming in to your salon. And so for me, I would do little deals on art. And I would say, also getting to know them is another thing too, because you can kind of tell like their style and things. And I would start and say, okay, so I had this idea, and I would pull up my inspo and things that I loved and was like, do any of these speak to you? Do you like any of these? Which a good leeway into that is when girls come in and they're like, Bailey, I don't know what to do. What should I do on my nails? And I'm like, well, let me tell you, I have some inspo for you. But that's perfect because sometimes they don't know, and I think sometimes girls have a hard time finding inspo. They're like, I don't know what happened. I've been loving everything. Or they're like, I liked one nail in this set and 2 nails in another. And I'm like, great, let's combine them. You know, like, let's make it perfect for what you want. And as I've gone on, there's clients that you kind of know what they like. And so then when they don't know, you can at least have something in your head or on Pinterest or on Instagram that you've saved that you're like, oh, I want to try this idea out. But you can kind of tailor it to the colors that you like, or you know what I mean? So I think those things are really big in terms of growing your clientele and posting on your story and posting your openings. A lot of people will say, oh, don't let them know that you're open, because then they're going to think, you know, that you're not busy. And I'm like, okay, but then they're not going to book, you know, like we want to get those people in the door. And you'll get clients that come in and you're like, we don't really vibe very well. I don't know if it's a great fit. And I feel like usually those girls will kind of weed themselves out over time. But really focusing on your relationship with your clients that you do have is very important. I think, you know, complaining like, oh, I just can't get clients. I can't get clients. But say, hey, would you mind posting on your story for me? Or, hey, if you refer a client, I can give you free nail art next time. For some reason, girls eat that up and they love that. They're like, oh yeah, if I'm going to get money off or whatever it might be, or something I'm already paying for. I mean, and some people are like, oh, I don't want to lose out on money. Yes, but I feel like it's, you know, replenished itself tenfold because of how we treated our clients and things like that. But I think those are some of the biggest things in terms of getting clientele, and also not being afraid to talk about it. When someone's like, oh, you know, meets you and they say, hey, what do you do? Don't be like, oh, I just do nails. Everyone just says, oh, I just do nails. I'm like, it's not just nails. Like, it's a career and it's a wonderful career. So like, be excited about it, and people will feel your excitement and they'll feel your passion and they'll want to come to you because of that. And also a random thing, I've actually gotten quite a few clients for like in drive-thrus. You'll like be handing them your card and they're like, oh my gosh, I love your nails. Like, who did them? And you're like, oh, I did, you know. But you know, I think just being very passionate and confident with yourself, that is actually what's going to bring in clientele, not necessarily a perfect strategy or perfect clients. So
that's amazing in terms of tips and also your journey, because truly, if you kind of are passionate in the stuff that you're doing, it will definitely kind of be contagious, and people will also want to share your passion with you. With Note Beauty as well, I constantly wear our colors that are kind of unique and stuff, and people ask, what color is this? And when you're really passionate about something, it really shows on your face. So thanks a lot for that tip. And when it comes to nail art, because you mentioned that you also share your inspo with your clients whenever they are not decisive, I was wondering, like, what was the most challenging or maybe kind of fun or a little bit weird set that you've done?
I have done a lot of odd sets, and it's just funky. I just love it. I love when your creativity and inspiration like bleeds into your clients, and because they're starting to realize, oh my gosh, I can do whatever I want on my nails. I am not restricted to, you know, solid color or something. They end up getting more creative. I always encourage my girls, not only looking at Pinterest and Instagram and social media, but looking at like when they're shopping, looking at clothes, looking at patterns, looking at the way something makes them feel, looking at, I don't know, nature, really anything can be nail art, which is what I love. But when I first started like opening that up to my clients and showing them like my inspiration boards, I think that helped them too, because they're like, oh, I don't just have to save nail sets. I can save really whatever. If you really loved a color of a top or a shoe, take a picture and, you know, bring it in. I even had a girl yesterday, she brought in I think it was just like a wallpaper. Like it was just like a moody, like vibey aesthetic photo. Didn't really have any like designs or anything, but she was like, I just want like, this is my inspo, go for it. And my clients do that a lot more now, and they trust me to be creative with their ideas as well. And I feel like for me, it's a little bit easier to be creative and inspiration, like the inspiration, because I've done that for a long time. And with college too, like we've learned to look at color a certain way. We learned to see things differently. But for someone who doesn't have a nail art or an art background, I think forcing yourself to come up with ideas, if you need to get out your iPad or sketch pad and get out your colored pencils, you know, mess around and try to like, you know, come up with some new ideas or play with your nail art supplies. Look around and see if there's maybe a new nail art thing that you haven't tried. Obviously, tutorials and things on Instagram are so helpful and so inspirational and can help you at least in terms of the process of creating something. But yeah, looking around and forcing yourself to try to come up with ideas. I think a lot of people always just say, "Oh, I just don't know. I don't know. I'm not creative, so I don't know." I don't like it when my clients bring in inspiration and I just want them to show me the nail picture they want and that's it, which is totally fine. You know, if that's what you like to do, that's great. But if you want to push yourself and be more creative, try it. Try it on yourself. You know, find things that you love and you will get better at it as you go on. And your clients help too. Sometimes they come up with half the idea and then you finish the rest of it, or they know what to do on 3 nails and there's just 2 more to do. But I think, drawing things out is really helpful. Finding new nail art, things to use and mess around with, different brushes too. Sometimes you have certain supplies and maybe you get frustrated and can't figure out why your brush isn't working a certain way. Try new brushes, try new techniques. Make sure you're using clean brushes. That's usually an issue too. But things like that. And there's also no shame in looking up color theory either. Look at the color wheel, look up some, I don't know, YouTube videos or something that's going to kind of help you in terms of learning color theory and understanding which colors look good together, which colors, you know, maybe don't look good together, what colors, even when you're blending. Like with my apprentices, they're always really shocked when I explain that when you are adding, so say you have a blue color and it's too bright, but you don't have a dusty blue or you don't have a muted blue. You can add orange to that blue and it will mute the blue color. A lot of girls, when I teach them that, they're like, what? I didn't know you could do that. And I'm like, I thought that was like common knowledge, you know, but things like that are very beneficial. So learning about color theory, go to an art museum, go look at the way something was painted and kind of like look at the textures, look at, you know, the compositions, the colors that they put together. It's all quite, you know, inspiring when you let it be.
I agree.
Yeah, like when you have like a negative attitude towards it, or you're just like, oh, I just don't know, bummer. Like, do the work, you know, put effort in and be excited about it, and it'll come back to you. You know what I mean? I mean, you'll figure it out.
Yeah,
sorry to cut you off. But also, like nail girls here, at least, I feel like all of the nail girls I've talked to, nail techs, they're all so nice. They're all so nice to share inspiration. If you're like, hey, like, I really love that set and I want to kind of recreate it. Do you have any tips or tricks on how you accomplish that nail design? Usually they'll text me back or message me back, and they're so sweet.
That's amazing. And I really, truly love your approach and appreciate that you're sharing it with me and with our listeners, like how you approach colors and nail art in general, because like sometimes nails are not given the credit that they should have when it comes to kind of outfits. Us girls especially, like our mood depends on our outfit, but whether we feel cute or I don't know, sexy or whatever. But like it's the same with nails completely, like the color you have, the nail art you have on your nails. So it's really cool to have a nail tech who understands colors and understand how colors affect our mood and style and kind of inspire us to also push ourselves. Maybe I would never kind of wear that light blue or bright blue color on my nails, but if you show it like the inspo behind or the meaning behind, I would be totally down for that. And kind of also I would push myself as well. So yeah, it's really, really cool, and thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and I think I kind of answered half your question, but some of the coolest sets really quick. Probably top sets where I had a girl come in. I've done her nails for probably 5 years. She came in and wanted an NBA set for basketball, and we did basketball nail. We did all of these different textures and teams, and they were very, very intricate, and they were so cool. I've done that. Van Gogh nails, stained glass nails. Those ones were really cool.
Yeah.
I've done someone's dog on their nails.
That's cute.
You know, like just, I don't know. We've done a lot of crazy things that probably most people would be too scared to try. But again, you're never going to know unless you try it. So.
Sure. I saw really like cool sets on TikTok during the Olympics. Like it was very crazy, but very cool to see all of this nail art. And also I really love jelly nail trend this summer, like when you mix the color with the base coat and it kind of is type of a sheer color on your nails. Yeah, really love that as well. And also, while we're talking about like clients, also I really love how you kind of name them your girls, not your clients. But I am guessing that you had also some challenges, especially when you were starting out. As you mentioned, like there are some clients that you just don't vibe with, the energy is not there. I was wondering, like, how do you deal with this type of situations? What would you advise to
Right.
other nail techs?
I think with this one's hard because I think we tend to want just the people that are doing the nail designs that we want. We want people who just do the shape and things that we want. Some people may
Mm-hmm.
be rude. Some people may be, I think in terms of personality, if a client comes in and you don't feel like your personality is quite vibing, first off, give them a chance. I think sometimes we think that we are only able to work with people that are like us. And that is definitely, I don't think that's the best thing to be teaching people, that we should only be hanging out and having clients that are just like us. I don't think that's the best thing to be encouraging people to do.
Right.
So first of all, give them a chance. Sometimes people had a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people have had hard things going on in their lives, so they're more quiet. So you may think, oh, she didn't
Right.
talk to me this entire set, and I just think that she hated it. Chances are maybe she just was tired. Maybe she just
Right.
had a hard day, things like that. So give them a chance, and then also put in effort. I think
Mm-hmm.
talking to them, asking them questions about them. Sometimes you can tell if someone doesn't want to talk. I also, on my booking system, you can book a silent appointment if you're just not feeling
That's
it that
cool.
day. Or, again, if people are going through hard things, I think that's one thing to know. Another is this is the most common that you have to kind of fire clients, is if people are showing up late constantly and
Right.
their card isn't on file and they won't pay you for missing appointments and things
Right.
like that, or being rude and inappropriate at work, things like that. I don't think I've had anyone be really inappropriate. Um, I've had girls like bring in lots of friends, which I do have a policy about bringing extra guests just because my new studio is a little bit smaller and I just don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's really beneficial to the salon
Right.
environment for me, but that's different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But lateness and missing appointments are the two huge ones. I did have a girl one time, she would show up like 45 minutes late to every appointment, and it was always a big excuse. And finally, I was a
Right.
little too nice, and I let it happen too many times. And I did charge her, and she was always fine about being charged, but her behavior didn't change. And it was sometimes she would show up on time, and then the next four, it was 45 minutes late, where I'm like, I can't finish that set, at least
Right.
not in the quality that I know I should, and I don't want to charge you money for something. I
Right.
feel like that was
Yeah.
just always weird. So finally, one time she was probably 35 minutes late, and I texted her again. I always text them like right before, maybe if it's
Mm-hmm.
like 7 to 8, 9 minutes late, I'm like, okay, like reminder, are you coming? So they can at least give me an
Right.
opportunity to let me know maybe why they're late or something. But after 15 minutes, I automatically charge. It's a card is automatically charged for a no-show, and it has to be a reschedule. But
Right.
anyway, it was 35 minutes late, and I texted her again, and she was like, "Oh, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming." And I was like, "I'm really sorry, but I don't have the time now. I'm gonna have to rebook you." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna tell her that I'm like gonna rebook, and then I'm gonna send a text later saying I'm really sorry, but we can't I can't be your nail tech anymore."
Yeah.
And I knew that she was still gonna show up, even though I told her that I couldn't do her nails, and she did. She showed up and came and sat in my chair, and I had to in front of the whole salon. I was so nervous because I don't want to be rude.
Yeah.
But I'm
I
really
get it.
sorry. I can't finish your set. I have other clients that day. And she was pretty rude, but she just rolled her eyes at me and kept giving me more excuses. And finally, I was just patient, and I, kind of helped show her to the door, and I rescheduled her on my scheduler and sent her on her way. But then I had to send a follow up text and just say, hey, like, I just want to let you know I don't think that I can really serve you I can't be your nail tech anymore. If you want me to send you some, and I always give them that option. I say, if you want me to send you some other nail tech options, I can totally do that. Another way you could go about that is just say our schedules aren't really lining up, especially if they're late. Just say our schedule isn't lining up, and I don't think this is the
Right.
best. Most people I feel like are usually like, oh, whatever, and fine, and they don't
Mhm.
want to deal with it. Some people will fight you on it, and that can be hard and uncomfortable because you're like, well,
Yeah.
I want the clientele. And she was a really sweet person, but again, nail techs, we don't
Right.
have days off, and we don't get paid time off. We don't have benefits. We don't have health insurance. You really do need to protect your time. Um, it's just one of those things that is hard, but it's important. It's important to protect your time and your money. It's hard to be like, it's like, oh, I don't want to be money driven, and that seems, money hungry, but it's not. It's they're paying for your time, and also realizing that nails are a luxury. Nails are not a right.
It's not a necessity.
They're paying you to give them the service, and they do need to show you at least some respect in order to receive that service. So that is a really hard one, but once you deal with maybe a couple people, you'll get more brave and you'll get more confident. And if you're having a hard time with that too, text one of a nail tech that you know or a friend and say, hey, I have this situation. Can you help me? This is the text I'm thinking about sending. Will you look at it and see if maybe there's anything that you would change or something like that? And that can kind of help give you a little bit of confidence, because anytime I had something like that happen and I talked to my coworkers, they're like, oh yeah, you got a charger, and they were a lot more confident for me, even though they're nervous for their clients. But when it's someone else, for some reason, we're a little bit more confident and able to do that. So if you need a little bit of a boost, try that. That usually does the trick.
Yeah, totally agree. And thanks a lot for sharing your experience and also tips on how to navigate situations like that. And I really loved about the silent appointment option that you offer to your client. I personally heard about it for the first time. It's really amazing, especially like I myself am a very introverted person and I don't talk too much. It doesn't matter if I know you very well. Even in that case, I'm not like a talker or anything. So it's a really cool option to kind of have an individual approach to different types of clients, because clients sometimes view nail techs as they're kind of maybe like a psychology session, even sometimes like to talk about their life issues and stuff. But sometimes you just want like the whole spa experience of like shutting your brain off and just doing your nails. So it's really cool to give both options to your clients. But I imagine that it may sometimes be overwhelming for you as well. And I was wondering, how do you take care of your mental health? Like, what do you do to kind of not think about work and your relationship with your clients? Like, what does help you kind of unwind?
That is a hard one, because especially as you have some years under your belt, there's clients that have stayed with you from like day one. And sometimes, well, I say all the time, I think probably at least once a day, I have someone in my chair that is having something really hard going on in their life. I personally have struggled with infertility for 8 years, and I have been able to really connect with my clients, and we're really good friends now. I wouldn't even say clients, like we are friends. And I have one girl specifically that we've gone through a lot of the same things together around the same times, and a lot of our other friends were able to get pregnant and we haven't. But there's times where like I know her IVF transfers didn't work, and so I'll like grab her a drink, or like we are friends. And it is really hard not to take that home, because especially when it's something that you resonate with, you just kind of, it's, you wish they like shake it off after an appointment sometimes. Like go out, take a walk, take a second, because it is hard. But it's also very beneficial. And I think talking about the hard things too with your clients sometimes helps as well, because it kind of gives you a sense of like, I was able to give them a little bit of relief today. Just a little bit. And a lot of girls, they look forward to their nail appointments. I mean, they plan their nails out like months in advance. They have the sets they want to do. Like they care a lot about it. And so it really is kind of a relief for them. I'm sure a lot of other nail techs feel this way, but I usually will drive home just dead silent. Don't listen to music. I kind of have to desensitize myself from all the commotion, especially in a salon if it's like loud. I usually will drive home in silence and kind of zone out for a little bit, or listen just to a podcast or something. But generally when I drive home, it's either maybe music or podcast, or I'm just silent. But most of the time it's just silence. That is one thing that I think helps me, gives me, and my drive luckily is actually a little bit longer. Some people wouldn't love that, but I kind of do love that with work, because it gives me that time to kind of rewind and before I get home. So then like my husband, when I get home, he wants to tell me all about work or things like that. We both work a lot with like talking all day. So both of us, when we get home, we're just like, we're really tired. But that helps both of us, is the quiet drive home. And if you don't have a long drive, finding quiet time, if that's taking a little bit longer of a shower, or just going and sitting outside your backyard or at a park or something, something just quiet, because it is such a talk heavy job.
Right.
That also going to therapy, which I know that is not really like, not everyone loves that answer either, but making sure that in your trials and things that are hard, that you are focusing on moving forward and not dwelling on the past. Because I think it's a lot harder to come to work when you are, you're dealing with a lot of depression or something's
Right.
going on. It's a lot harder to show up for your clients. Personally, for me, I always thought I was an extrovert. I'm a little bit of both, I think. But for me, being with people helps me. It helps me focusing not on myself and focusing on my client, especially when they're going through hard things.
Right.
We've had miscarriages, a lot of infertility things. We've had deaths. We've had divorces. We've had abuse. We've had, I mean, really, you end up seeing basically everything with your clients, and it can be very, very heavy. I do
Right.
have one client that is a therapist, and that is actually really helpful. Not in terms of like jumping on her by any means, but more
Sure.
she'll give me little tips and tricks,
Mm-hmm.
because she deals with that same thing where she is talk heavy and is dealing with hard, heavy emotions at the end of the day. Yeah, focusing on yourself in terms of that self-care. And I think self-care sometimes you're like, oh, I'll give myself a pedicure, things like that. Not necessarily that. More mentally give yourself a break from like thinking about anything. And if you're like religious, I think spiritual things too can help.
Right.
Like if you believe in God, focusing on your religion a little bit can help kind of ground you and give you that sense of purpose, and not dwelling so much on your own things, and trying to help others is what helps me. But I know in a lot of people that is more stressful for them. But yeah, I think I don't necessarily need tons of breaks from my clients. I feel like that gives me a lot of I don't know, purpose, I guess.
That's amazing.
That's
And
kind of what I do.
first of all, I want to say like how brave and amazing you are for sharing such vulnerable topics. And it's really inspiring to kind of see your approach, even though you yourself have gone through like this huge difficulties. And on top of that, you still manage to understand the person in front of you. It really kind of demands an incredible strength, which you have. And I admire you so much for that. And also, you constantly mentioned about other nail techs, like being friends with them and talking to them, sharing experiences. And I'm all for collaborating rather than just facing competition all the time with one another. And I want to kind of bring this to your apprenticeship program, and I'm sure that you're amazing at it. And I want to kind of give you the chance to talk about it more, like what people can expect from your program. Do you accept apprentices right now? Like anything about the program?
Yeah, so apprenticeships I think are amazing. Personally speaking, just a lot of girls I know that have come out of general nail school, um, they are kind of wanting more, wanting a little more, needing a little bit more tuning, wanting more specific knowledge on certain products, on structured manicures or whatever it might be. And so that's kind of where I try to focus on in my apprenticeship is what you're actually going to be doing day to day in all reality. Like what products are you going to be using 90% of the time? And what are clients around here asking for? What should you be prepared for? So we focus a lot on that, and we focus on getting the students prepped for their state boards as well. There are a lot of educators here in Utah, and I feel like that's been really beneficial to be able to talk to everybody else and say, hey, how'd you deal with this, or what topics did you feel like were beneficial for you? Obviously, being a nail tech too, you already kind of know things that you wish you would have learned, so that's kind of a nice way, like segue into what you're teaching in your apprenticeship. But yeah, so my apprenticeship, it's about 3-4 months. It's pretty quick, but it's long days. It's long days, and I have 2 apprentices at a time on a certain day. So legally, I only have to have 2 at a time. And so we'll go over all the products that I use. So they get a kit, and in their kit, I get all the products that I use. It's not just random products from Amazon. These are products that are tried and true, that I've used for years, that I've done my research on, that the chemical makeup is safe, and all those things are very important to me. We talk about allergies and nail diseases. I really, really love that section. For some reason, that section of our books, I really enjoy that part. And I try to focus a lot on prepping my girls for what to do when you're faced with, like a nail disorder, an issue, something like that. Right. They're not used to seeing, but they should know. They should know what it is, and they should be aware.
For sure.
Of those things. But yeah, so it's 375 hours, a couple months long, and we focus on those things. And I am also taking clients at the same time. So we have like certain hours where it's just teaching hours, and then we have where they come and watch. And I think personally, most of the girls I've had are very visual learners. So that's kind of nice because watching and kind of getting up close to me while we're doing everything, right, and watching how I approach a nail. And it's also really nice because my clients will have different nail issues too, or like a ski slope nail, and I'm teaching them how to restructure that nail because it's different than a straight nail. So things like that is really beneficial for them to come and watch. But yeah, and we do have book work. A lot of people don't love that part. I really love that part because it teaches a little bit more about like the chemical makeup of things and how things are cured and safety in the workplace. Sanitation is a big deal to me. I have been in many nail salons that are very unclean, and even some people I've worked with that was really hard because you're just putting your clients at risk. One of my girls always teases me. She's like, "You're like the legal police," but she's like, "But I like that you're that way because I'm a little bit more well prepped, and I know that I'm not going to cause any damage or issues." I always tell my girls, I'm like, "Well, you just don't want you to be the problem. You don't want to be the one to cause any MRSA or any of these crazy things to your clients. Like that's horrible, and they can also come after you in your business if they really wanted to, which is scary." And so, yes, your program is short, but it's important to touch base on all of those topics. And then we do talk a lot about business and taxes, and I also send them tax people recommendations as well, and different ways to set up your business. We talk about different platforms in order to do scheduling and filling out for taxes, all of those things, and then they can kind of choose what is best suited for them. So we talk about that. We talk about our lights and our light wattages and all of those fun things. But what I think I've loved most about the apprenticeships is that you are spending so much time together that you do create a good bond and relationship to where my girls, they text me like a year later and they're like, "Hey, I have this nail that keeps lifting on this side," and they'll ask me questions. And I love that. I love that because you're not going to be perfect right as you get out of school, especially 3-4 months. I mean, you know, I feel like it really is a couple years until you feel really solid with all the things that should pop up, Sure. That's been a really nice thing too. And then they also become friends with each other and they connect with each other. And so they have one another to ask questions and to, touch base with. And my first set was actually my cousin and another girl that I don't know what it was, but they just got along so perfectly. And everyone teases them. They're like, "You guys are like sisters." And they look similar too, which is funny. They really do look like sisters. But it's really fun to watch other people, connect like that and find people in their circle that they're going to just love forever. Yeah, we focus a lot on that. And my goal always for my apprenticeships is I want you to be able to come in and learn everything that you need to know to start your business. I know that's like vague, but like I really want you to be able to come out of this apprenticeship with clients and like some drive and some good momentum, because you're not going to be totally full after your apprenticeship. But I have quite a few of honestly almost all of my apprentices where they have just tried so hard and they've really kicked their butt into gear and they have that momentum and they keep it going. I think all of my girls are quite full. I work one specifically, but she's going to close her books soon. And she's been graduated. She graduated in May. That's cool. She's already going to close her books, which is like, that's the goal. Like, that's amazing. That's so wonderful.
For sure.
And probably my other girls are pretty close too. I should probably check in on that. But yeah, she's going to close her books and she's only been graduated for a few months. So it's definitely possible if you put in the work and if you put in the work and you have the drive for it. Which has been really fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. And kind of a very beautiful way to kind of as a form of advice also to everyone who wants to start their journey in the nail world, of like not giving up, and hard work really does pay off, whether it's like in a few months or maybe for some people it's in 3 years, but it will definitely kind of pay off. You just need patience and
Yes.
you need the passion for sure. And thanks for bringing up important topics such as sanitation and also the chemical ingredients that are in gel polishes or in other materials that you're using. It's really important, and it's very important that everyone in the industry like kind of talks about these things and shares their knowledge, because as you said, we're dealing with people's health, and it's not something to kind of joke with or to be like careless with. So thanks a lot for touching upon that topic as well. So thank you. This episode was very cool, and I learned a lot of stuff and got inspired from you a lot. So it was very nice to have you. And yeah, thanks everyone who was listening to this episode as well. Hope you liked it as much as I did. And we will see you next time.
Hey, thank you.